If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as follow me and subscribe to me on all my other social media platforms. What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I'm back for part 3 of the top 50 albums of 2022. We're now going from 30 to 21, and we got some heavy hitters that are going to be starting to come in, starting in part 3 right here. But without wasting any more time, let's get into it. With number 30, we have Evergrey with A Heartless Portrait, The Orphan Testament. I have been a big fan of the recent Evergrey albums ever since 2019's The Ocean. I believe that was what it was called. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. But then you had Order of the Phoenix last year, which I think made my year-end list last year. And already we had a new album, and this one I would say is stronger than the last two. Like, I would say this album perfectly encompasses everything Evergrey is about. It's like, it's described as progressive power metal. I don't really hear that much power metal. Maybe in the moments when it gets a little more epic it has that vibe, but I would say this is just straight up prog metal with some amazing vocals, but yet you get some super heavy riffs that kind of remind me of Mastodon a little bit, and even some sludgy grooves at times that remind me of Mastodon, but with great, beautiful melodies, and like the vocals from Tom England and his guitar work, just top to bottom, crafting something of prog metal mastery. Like, this is one of the best prog metal albums of the year, in my opinion. I would say perhaps a little stronger than the last Dream Theater, possibly, but doesn't take anything away from that last Dream Theater album. But I think I like this Evergrey album a little bit more because it's heavier, and also the vocals just absolutely carries all the stories that these songs are telling to your mind. So yeah, Evergrey at number 30. Coming in at number 29, we get actually the next three big heavy thrash hitters, starting with Destruction with Diabolical. So yeah, Destruction, out of the major three German thrash bands, definitely the one I'm the least familiar with. Like, I'm big into Sodom and Creator, and Destruction has always kind of slipped under the radar for me. No pun intended. But I gave this album a listen, and just, again, like, this year was so strong for thrash, old school and new school wise, and this was one of the old school bands that definitely show that they can hang with the young guns and maybe even do it better than a lot of the young guns can do it. But yeah, like, this album just carries forth so much raw energy, and of course Schmier just still wailing and just delivering these chaotic, like, lyrics and chaotic vocal deliveries. He's just an absolute madman, and who doesn't love Schmier? I can't think of anybody who doesn't love Schmier. But yeah, this album, top to bottom, raw energy, aggression, nothing more, nothing less. Coming in at number 28, I know this one's very divisive and I don't understand, but at number 28 I have Razor with Cycle of Contempt. I absolutely love this album. I know the complaints I kept hearing, people thought the riffs were too quiet. I was able to hear the riffs just fine, so I don't know what was going on there. People think, oh, the drums were programmed. I haven't seen proof that it was programmed. I just think maybe this young drummer is fucking consistent and good. But yeah, I just love the pissed off nature of this album. Like, it was just basically telling you, like, fuck you for ruining the world with your PC bullshit. We're gonna tell it like it is, and if you don't like it, there's the door, and don't let it hit you on the ass on the way out. And I mean, yes, some of those song titles are silly, like Off My Meds, Punch Your Face In, All Fist Fighting, but it just fits with that hatred, pissed off aggression that Razor has been known for really ever since they began back in the 80s. And I just love, again, the aggression that Razor is able to deliver, and even like the vocals, just like gruff and tough and just ready to just spew out hatred right into your earlobes. Or ear holes. These are earlobes. Ear holes. Get it right, brain. But anyways, yeah. Cycle of Contempt by Razor, my number 28. Coming in at number 27, this album I thought would have been higher on the list, but again, there was just a lot of heavy competition. And that is Creator with Hate Über Alles. I think Creator's still able to make absolutely fantastic music. Granted, this album, I feel, does fall in comparison to the previous two, Phantom Antichrist and Gods of Violence, but it's still a fantastic album. I would say it's kind of on par with albums like Enemy of God and Hordes of Chaos in terms of the more recent run of Creator albums since Violent Revolution in 2001. But yeah, definitely, there was a lot of like old school metal moments on here, like some of the Iron Maiden gallops, some Judas Priest moments, a couple of power metal bits, but still with Creator's thrash metal mentality. I mean, songs on here like Strongest of the Strong, the title track, Pride Comes Before the Fall, Midnight Sun, just top to bottom. I can't think of a bad song off of this album. And I absolutely love it. So yeah, it was my number 27. Coming in at number 26, we are going to get a little bit weird with this one. We have Shiki by Psy. So yeah, Japanese black metal legends. And this one, I don't even know if I could really call it black metal apart from the vocal style. Like, the vocals may be black metal, but musically it's just all over the place. Like, I don't even know. Best way to describe it, it's adventurous. The best word to describe it, it's very adventurous. Like, there are moments where it gets very experimental, it gets black metal, it gets thrashy, even gets a little bit of death metal and proggy at times. It's just, this album's basically trying to checkmark everything you can do within like an avant-garde type of style by mixing so many influences into one album, but still delivering pure heaviness, some catchiness, but yet showing off that, hey, we can get just as adventurous as a band like Dream Theater or a band like Fate's Warning, it doesn't matter, but do it in our more raw, heavy, primitive way. And that's what this album was able to conjure into your brain. So yeah, my number 26. Coming in at number 25, we get back into more thrash. This time, we're talking about Rhythm of Fear with Fatal Horizons. So yeah, this is the sophomore full-length from this band. I remember checking out their EP, Ritual Dementia. I believe that was the name of the EP when it came out in 2019. And it was really good, and this being their full-length sophomore effort, I was like, oh, I was just waiting to hear what this band had to offer. And again, just mixing like some old school thrash, like old Metallica, a little bit of Slayer, but mix it in with like some influence of like modern bands like Power Trip, for example. Just bringing it all together in order to create something that just has a lot of anger to it. Some of that anger in like the lyrics of one song might come off as divisive, but it's still like not too bad. But still, like, top to bottom, musically, again, filled with piss, vinegar, lemon juice, everything that will burn a cut on your body. That's what this album's mood is all about. We don't give a shit if you're hurt, we're gonna kick your ass and you're gonna like it. So yeah, my number 25. Coming in at number 24, we get into some old school metal worship. We have Eliminator with Ancient Light. I know a lot of people were like really, really high on like Riot City, and while that was a good album, I think this album by Eliminator blows that Riot City album out of the water in terms of like old school metal worship. This album, it's like the perfect amalgamation of Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. And I think this is a British band too, Eliminator, if I remember correctly. But yeah, this was actually an early album. This came out back in January, I want to say. So this was an early contender, and it still made the top 50 list. Actually made the upper half of the list just because it's like these are old school moments, like the gallops and some of the harmonies definitely harken back to Iron Maiden, but then you get some like cool like grooves of a Judas Priest thrown in here too, and some speedy moments. And it does, and again, the thing I love about these modern old school sounding metal bands, they don't sound like copycats. They wear their influences proudly on their sleeve, but they want to kind of push it forward a little bit and do it in their own sense, in their own way, in their own mentality. And Eliminator was able to deliver something that feels old school, but done right in the modern sense. Coming in at number 23, we get into more black metal, and that is Lord Belial with Rapture. This one, I was not expecting. Like, I've heard of this band in the past, but never gave them a full-on listen until this album. And this was their first album in 14 years, I think. And this album is just, like, perfect dissection worship a little bit. Well, they're not really worshiping dissection. They were around when dissection was back in the 90s. But it feels very much in the vein of, like that black metal bands from Sweden. I wanted to get a little bit more melodic and kind of mix it with what was going on with this melodic death metal sound in Sweden as well. And it's not even like full-on black metal. Like, it is still a black metal album, but you do get some death metal chugs in here every once in a while. You get some thrashy parts. You get some moments where they slow down a bit. There's some really cool melody, but some amazing riffing on here, whether it's done in the tremolo fashion or those more death metal chugs that will come in here and there on some songs. But yeah, top to bottom, this is one of the best modern black metal albums I've ever heard. So yeah, comes in as my number 23. Coming in at number 22, we have kind of an odd one, because half of the album's full of original material and the other half is covers, but still, I'm going to put it on the list because I love the covers and I love the originals. Perdition Temple with Merciless Upheaval. Again, this is Gene from Angel Corpse. This is his band after Angel Corpse broke up. And this band pretty much continues in that vein of Angel Corpse. You know, it's like Blackened Morbid Angel. You know, because it's very much like Morbid Angel worship with the riffing and the beats, and even in the guitar tone a little bit. But vocally, it has a little more rasp to it to kind of give it a little bit of that blackened feel on top. But yeah, Gene, he just continues to just push himself creatively and push himself songwriting-wise. And even the four covers, like they covered Shub Nagroth, I believe, yeah, they did a Morbid Angel song, they did Pestilence, and I forget the fourth one. I'll have to go back and check it out. But still, the cover songs were well done. Covering Blood on My Hands from Covenant, that was a cool move on their part, and they did it very well. So yeah, Merciless Upheaval by Perdition Temple, my number 22. And now we've reached the final entry on part 3. At number 21, we have Maceration with It Never Ends. I had to put this album on the list, even though it was a late album, but I still loved it. Dan Swano still showing that he can still death growl just as good as anybody else. And this is just great old... And it's a Danish band with Dan Swano doing the vocals, but it sounds like classic Swedish death metal, like early Entombed, with some of those like blackened tremolos that come in, but it's thrashy, it's energetic, it's fun, it's raw, it's nasty. I'm a whore for HM2, just like Necrotic Nick, and this... Holy shit, the guitar work on this album is just killer. The production's awesome, Dan Swano killing it. Anything Dan Swano does, it's gonna be on list because he can never do anything wrong. So yeah, Maceration It Never Ends as my number 21. And that does it for part 3 of the top 50 albums of 2022. We only got 20 more entries to go and 2 videos left. Oh boy. You thought this part had some heavy hitters. We're going to get into even more heavy hitters coming very soon. But until then, horns high. See you guys in the next one.